What's up, guys? It's me, Crashy, and today I'm going to be talking about some Overwatch gameplay. And this is a King of the Hill I got a little bit before the patch, something like that. And so it's just some Soldier 76. I remember it having a really cool ending, but it is 17 minutes long because it goes down to the third round. So I don't know that my topic will cover the whole video, but you know, I'll let it play through because that's what I want to do, and we can do all that awesome stuff. So you guys can tell me what you think of the gameplay. Anyways, so as you can see in the title, we're going to be talking about changes to the game and just like recent news about Overwatch. I want to make sure I'm covering everything. Always want to make sure I'm talking about the stuff and giving my opinion, my thoughts, and just what I think it means for the game specifically. So we got the first patch, which basically everybody should know by now was the nerf and the nerf to McCree, Widowmaker, and the bug fix for Mercy. Now, the bugs fix for Mercy wasn't too impactful. Essentially, if she was damage boosting someone and they were shooting the ice wall or the Reinhardt shield, it was giving them ultimate. It was giving her ultimate. So while Mercy gets her res super fast, if she was doing that little trick or that little exploit or bug or whatever you want to call it, she was actually getting it way faster. And that's just that was ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't give any charge to anyone, but if you were damage boosting, then it gave it to her because I guess it counted as like ticks of damage onto an object or a person or whatever, however the game read that, kind of that coding of that programming or whatever. So that's been fixed, but first we'll talk about McCree, and we'll talk about it. Basically, they took his damage down. I don't remember. I don't want to quote the numbers. I know it was something like 70 and 45. So they nerfed his fan the hammer, basically his right click, and it's no cooldown, nothing like that. But if you guys don't know, they basically cut the damage in half. It might be a little less than half or around half, something like that. And essentially, this is impacting the meta quite a bit. At first, I didn't think it would because the stun grenade is just so valuable, but ultimately, McCree's burst is kind of gone. Like, he can still burst most squishies, but it requires you to land the full 6 bullets in a very short amount of time after the stun. So I don't know that that's necessarily his role anymore. Like, it's a little harder to be that bursty McCree, that insta-gib, you know, McCree, and that's good at the same time as it is a little bad. Maybe they should buff it a little bit back up, in my opinion, but it's definitely better for the game overall, I think. I mean, McCree being, you know, double-picked in pubs and just 100% picked more or less in competitive, so we're definitely seeing more diversity, and that's what, you know, changes like this are supposed to do, and I think that's really good overall. The problem, again, is that it may have been a little bit of an overnerf. We'll see. I mean, like I said, he still has his role, you know, which is good for movement, gives him a reload, you know, he could fan the hammer a second time, and the stun grenade is just amazingly strong. So now, instead of maybe being picked all the time, he'll be picked for countering, you know, whatever he's used for, countering flankers, countering stuff like that. So we'll just have to see. It's definitely something different. I guess I was changing the settings here. That's weird. I didn't remember this gameplay or this part of the gameplay. I think I was messing around with potentially putting it back on default to see if I could practice burst firing him, but I think I've kind of abolished that idea. Anyways, so the next change in the patch is the nerf to Widowmaker. Now, the nerf to Widowmaker, when I read it, you know, I thought I felt good about it. You know, it was basically they boosted her, they reduced the damage that she did base. So what that means is that the headshot multiplier, if they would have left that alone, her headshot damage would have been less. So they increased the headshot multiplier from 2 to 2.5, and that essentially left her headshot damage exactly the same. So they did the math, or they did the, you know, the equation or whatever the hell they did, that left the damage exactly the same. So her headshot's exactly the same. That working as intended. You do 300 damage with a full charge to the head. It's a lot of damage. It's really strong still. You know, regardless of anything else, it's still really strong. Now they nerfed the body shots, and this is what, you know, I really was expecting them to do, and maybe nerf the ult. They didn't like nerf the ult or change it in a sense. They just reduced how much time it lasts, and that's good because it's a very strong ult for, you know, the whole team to get vision on the other team. And then there was the aiming thing. Now, essentially, if you bring up the scope, you can't drop it and bring it back up until the scope goes all the way down. So all the quick scoping and like fast decision making, repositioning with Widow, all that potential that she had is kind of gone. So now I think the community, especially in the competitive community as well, is still finding her place. I've seen, you know, really professional top teams have dropped her. I've seen I've seen you know, low-end teams and even some top teams still running her. You know, it's just, I think the best way to look at it is she's not picked every game, like, and that's the same thing with McCree, and that's good, but I don't know. I think everybody feels like maybe the scope change was a little unnecessary. Maybe you should find other ways to bring her down, bring her more in line, than just to make her like not fun to play. Because I'll put it this way, as someone who had the majority, or still has the majority of my game time put onto Widowmaker, I honestly can tell you I just don't enjoy playing her now, and it's like she was the person that I looked forward to getting on Overwatch and jumping around and being a sniper with, and now she's just so boring and so, you know, cookie cutter, sit back and hold your scope kind of a sniper, that I loved the potential that was available to me as a Widowmaker player. So unfortunately for me, I think balance-wise it was a good change, and again, even though something may have been over-nerfed, it still could be good for the game, because like I said, her not being played every game is good for the game balance. But for me specifically, I just didn't care for the scope change. So that's kind of where she's at. That was the patch. So we did get a developer update video from Jeff Kaplan, and Jeff Kaplan did an awesome job of really, and he always does an awesome job. He's probably one of the best, I don't exactly know his title, but I'm going to call him, you know, lead, I don't know, director, designer, developer, I don't know, whatever he is, definitely a lead there, and he's done an awesome job, one of the best I've seen in the gaming industry in terms of development and to community kind of a standpoint, keeping in touch with community, you know, listening to feedback and stuff like that. He did a long video, and it's all about the competitive mode and what they're going to be bringing. Now, some of it was a little vague, and so we still have a little bit of digging to do or waiting to do to see exactly where they're taking all this, but I'm very interested. So basically, they talk about a few things leading into it. They talk about how they, you know, they want to focus on bringing us a new spectator mode, and that they've heard the feedback about, you know, what kind of things need to be implemented and how it would make the game easier to view and more fun. So, you know, right off the bat, as an esport, the game needs to be able to be understood. And there's a lot of moving parts in this game, and I think that, you know, with Jeff Kaplan listening to Jeff Kaplan and the Overwatch team, rather, listening to the feedback, understanding what makes this game important as a viewer, you know, like, what is important to know? Is it important to know the positioning of the flankers? Is it important to know, you know, what information do they need to put on the UI to make sure that the viewing experience is good? So they're looking into, you know, updating that spectator UI, which is perfect. They basically said that they heard feedback from the closed beta, which I did play in the competitive mode in closed beta, and I can honestly tell you personally, it felt like a progression system. It didn't feel like there was any skill. It just felt like something that you would put a lot of time into, and you would, you know, reap the reward of how much time you played. And the reason a system like that is not good is because it doesn't feel like, again, like there's any skill involved. It feels like you're kind of playing because it's there. Now, in Overwatch, there's like 1,800 levels, something like that, and that's a very large progression system. You will always have people that are grinding and grinding to try to climb through that progression system, but you don't want there to be a level progression system and a ranking progression system that's essentially just a hidden level progression system, where the more you play equals the higher rank you get. So they basically said they've scrapped that, they're coming out with a new mode, and it's going to be a variation of taking your MMR and creating like a true skill number, I essentially think he called it, or some form of you know, skill rating. And so I don't think it's going to be your exact, you know, your physical MMR, but it is going to be a physical number that you'll be able to see. And this, to me, is perfect, because basically it's going to create... Here's what happens when you do something like this, though. There's a good side and a downside. The good side is that the people that truly want this system, which is almost all the people that are willing to play ranked and willing to play competitive mode in a lot of these games, MOBAs, you know, stuff like that, this is what they want. You want to be able to press your, you know, your menu button or your tab or whatever and see, hey, damn, dude, you know, I'm a 3.5K rated player or whatever it is. Even though it's still going to be a little bit jaded because you're playing solo queue. I mean, you know what I mean? Or, you know, or you're just not playing team. So, you know, you're only doing as good as how good your games have been. But still, you want to know abouts where you rank. And in theory, this will always make sense, even if it's not the physical truth. In theory, the better of a player you are, the more impact on each individual game you play you will have, meaning you should win more than you lose if you're good, meaning your rating will go up or will be high. That is a fact in theory. Now, you may just be, you know, Bob Joe who's having a shit ton of terrible teammates, And you could be, if there was a metric for this, the best player in the world and have a really bad rating because of bad luck. It's possible. It sounds weird, and it's very, very unlikely, but it is possible. So this rating, this MMR-based kind of true skill number is awesome to me. I'm really excited to see what it looks like, to see the game where it basically, they told you that whenever you get into a ranked game, it's going to show you everyone's number and the average for each team, so you should know about where the system is trying to say who should win, whether Team A or Team B should be the winning team, and you'll know whether or not you're getting a lot of points or losing a lot of points based on your win or your loss. You'll be able to see who's partied together. This is important because, you know, as humans, I feel like there's a built-in thing that allows us to make excuses sometimes. It's sometimes, you know, feeling bad about a certain scenario, you want to find the answer that you know is really yourself or, you know, your team or whatever in this scenario. And so you think to yourself, like, oh my god, they have to be a full stack and I'm solo, you know what I mean? Well, in HOTS and in Overwatch now, you can actually see that, which I think it's going to be peaceful on the mind, you know what I mean? You need to be able to know what you're going against, so that way it gives you the most information to improve. And that's what this is all about. That's what competitive mode is. You want to play the game at a higher level, so that way you have the information and the tools in front of you, like an MMR, like you know, the grouping system, to show you how good of a player you can be, and where you are, like actually, literally. So that's really awesome. Now, he talked about double cap maps, or I think they called them assault maps. And essentially, he was speaking to the 2 CP maps, Volskaya, Temple of Anubis, Hanamura, and he basically said that they've heard the feedback, they felt too kind of like a coin flip, one team will win, one team will lose really fast, and that they said there are changes. So while we have no specifics, it's going to be interesting to see how they go about fixing those maps, because I just feel like it's a straight design flaw, but I'm definitely interested to see what decisions they make on that regard. So will be really cool to see. Excited. So that's awesome. There was a small section where he spoke on basically the new rank system and how in a very literal sense, you will have to eventually be comfortable, like with this system, you have to understand that you will lose rank. Like there will be times where you're, you know, at a certain rating, and when you go on a losing tear, because it happens to all of us, you are going to drop rank. So I feel like this system is not meant for the faint of heart. Like, you have to understand what it means. When you're winning games, you're going up. When you're losing games, you're not. So it's a dangerous system to play around with, from a community standpoint, because it can really, like, get in the minds of the players to some degree. So it is just kind of what it is. So they talk about rewards, or Jeff Kaplan talked about rewards. He talks about, you know, getting unique sprays, getting unique player icons, and I think that's really cool because they have a unique opportunity to find some kind of a format that they want to do for artwork and say, okay, season 1, which was like, I don't know, June or July. Season 1, you know, is going to be July for 3 months. They did talk about a 3-month season. So the July for 3 months is going to have, you know, this icon, and if you were in the top, I don't know, 1,000 players, you got this cool icon. So forever, you could have a cool player icon that shows, you know, season 1, and it could even have it listed. Oh yeah, season 1, 2016, or however they want to label them. You know, you were a grand player, blah blah blah. You know, you were 3,500. Like, however they're going to do all the exact specifics on the ranking, I think would be really, really cool to be able to see. And then they said that some of the best among the best are going to have a gold gun system where if you're a high enough rating, you're going to be able to make your weapons gold. And that sounded awesome. He specifically talked about how Reinhardt would be swinging around a gold hammer. So kudos to them for not making, you know, like a gun, like skin system. I mean, essentially you have your skins that change the guns. But this is really awesome. You're going to see people in pub matches or in ranked, and you're going to think, whoa, you know, that guy's got those gun weapons. And this is the kind of stuff that used to take me back to WoW days, where you would have a specific gear set on, and it was very prestigious to be good at the game, and it actually meant something. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to all of the progression and anything they can do with the game that makes it awesome. So that's going to be really cool, and hopefully it turns out the way I want and the way we all want, and it's going to be fun. And basically they're setting a distinction between the difference of quick play, have fun, hop in, play a bunch of different heroes, play all the same hero if you want, and competitive play. Now, again, while there were no specifics on whether or not there's going to be a hero limit implemented, whether there won't be a hero limit implemented, I think that's, you know, to be seen. I know I personally would love to see 1HL make it into the competitive scene officially and into the competitive mode. I really don't want to have to deal with double monkeys and double Lucias and all that. But let me know, guys, what do you think in the comment section below? What do you think about 1HL and competitive? What do you think about the progression system versus, you know, this MMR kind of, you know, valued number system? And also, are you seeing me keep this point alive for my team? This is awesome. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching the video. I appreciate it. Do not leave without leaving a like. I'm trying to do this thing. It's going to be an interesting journey, and I'm just doing the best I can. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time. Enjoy the rest of the gameplay.